Hey Algebra, it's Mrs. Weekly. So today we're just going to continue on, really the only thing that we're going to continue on basically for the rest of the week is these charts. Okay, we're just going to take them a few at a time because I know that they take a lot of brain power and a lot of work. So we're moving on into the kind of second set of examples. Okay, so like example 6, 7, and 8, I believe they are. 6 through 9, sorry. So I'm going to show you two of them. You'll be responsible for completing the rest of the examples and then the first 3 on the practice. Okay, so we're not doing all of them all at once. So here we go. If you look here, these are just some useful things to kind of keep in mind. Make sure that when you're dealing with money, that you're keeping it consistent. Okay, keep it in either all cents or all dollars throughout the entire thing. Okay, I tend to keep mine in all dollars, and I'll show you what I mean in just a second. All right, so example 6. We have It says for basketball games, adult tickets cost $4 each and student tickets cost $2 each. A total of 920 tickets were sold for a total of $2,446. How many student tickets were sold? Okay, so it's asking how many student tickets were sold. All right, that's our ultimate goal. Now, looking at the chart, I'm going to have the number of tickets, the price for each of those tickets, and then the total cost, okay? A lot of them are set up very similar to this, like the number of items, the value of the item, and then the total value of that item, okay? So those are usually going to be your 3 columns. Now, number of tickets. I'm not really sure about that, but I'm going to go ahead and go back to what I do know, which is the price. It told us that pretty explicitly. So the adult tickets were $4 each. I'm going to go ahead and put that in right away. And student ones were $2 each. Okay, so those were pretty simple ones to find. Now I have to think about the number of tickets. Well, the only place that mentions the number of tickets was this total of 920. Okay, it's not dealing with money. We're talking about the number of tickets sold. So here's what I do to kind of figure that part out. So I know my goal is to get one variable in my chart here, but I usually start out with having 2 variables, and then I decide kind of which one makes sense to make the one variable in the chart. All right, so I'm going to say A is the number of adult tickets and S is the number of student tickets. Well, it told us the total was 920. So if I do A plus S, that should give me a total of 920. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and choose S as my variable. So that means I want to solve this equation that I just made for A, okay? So I want to subtract S. So A would be equal to 920 minus S. Okay, so the number of student tickets sold would just be S. But then the remaining, so there's 920 in all, so 920 minus however many student tickets there are, we would be left with how many adult tickets there are. And that's what this 920 minus S gives me, okay? So 920 minus S. So right here, here's the number of student tickets. Well, with the adult ones, it's saying, okay, here's the total minus the number of student ones. We're left with however many adult ones are left. So now I can go ahead and get my expressions for the total cost. So for the total cost for adult, I'm going to take that 4 times that quantity, 920 minus S. And for that next one, it's just going to be 2 times S. Okay, so now that my chart is filled in, I'm going to have to come up with the equation. Notice that I did not use this total of $2,446. That is going to come in my equation. So not every piece of information ends up in that chart, okay? Another thing with these, for now, you guys practiced solving yesterday, okay? Actually, doing the chart, defining your variables, creating the equation, and solving. For today, we are not going to do that solving part. We're still going to define our variable. We're still going to fill in the chart and create the equation, and then we're going to stop there. Okay, we're going to focus on just those steps. So notice that I have 2 variables, but I'm really only using this S for student, okay, in my chart. I need one variable, and I have that. So I'm going to go ahead and box it in and make sure that that's known that that's my variable that I'm using. Okay, so now I need to create that equation. Okay, well, it's telling me there was a total of 920 tickets sold, and we used that, and they were sold for a total of 2,446. So that's telling me the number of adult tickets plus the number of student tickets are all going to add up to be that $2,446. So all of that cost is going to add up. So the total cost of adult is this 4 times 920 minus S. So that's the adult. I'll write it underneath since we're not solving. And then plus the number of student ones. I'll put stud. Okay. So student ones was this total of 2S. That was the total cost. Well, now the cost of all of them, it told us was this $2,446. So at this point, I have my equation. It makes sense. The answer key is also at the very bottom, okay? I only gave you the answers to the ones that I expect you to do today, so you can't really work ahead unless you'd like to. You just don't have the answer key quite yet, okay? So at this point, I am done. So I defined my variable, filled out the chart with one variable in there, and created my equation. That is your focus for today. I'm going to skip to the next one. Give me a second. All right, we're going to skip to example number 9. This one's pretty involved, so it's going to be a little bit long, so I'm going to give you a little bit of a warning right now. But notice that your chart is completely blank. So again, just like I mentioned before, a lot of times your 3 columns, and I don't know what happened to the table, but go ahead and fill it in to where you have this number of boxes that I have now. So your 3 columns that are up here, keep in mind this one's always just blank, okay? That one's just a blank one. But then your 3 columns at the top here, here, and here are typically going to be the number of items, the value of the item, and then the total value of that item, okay? So let's read the question, see what makes sense here. So it says, Joe has a total of 37 coins, all nickels, dimes, and quarters, which are worth a total of $5.50. She has 4 more quarters than nickels. How many dimes does Joe have? Okay, so let's think. Well, we're talking about coins. We have 3 different types of coins. I know that there could be a number of coins, how many coins I have, and then the value of the coin. So at the top, this is going to be number of coins. This is going to be value of coin, okay, how much it's worth. And then this is going to be total value. Okay, so if I think about this, if I had 1 quarter, that would be a number of coin. The value is 25 cents. So the total value would be 1 times 25 cents. Okay, so that's kind of how we think about that. I'll erase that. All right, so now I got to fill in my kind of topics in my rows over here. And I have 3 rows. Okay, so I have 3 different types of things that I'm dealing with. And it says nickels, dimes, and quarters. So that is what's going to go in here. Nickels, dimes, and quarters. Oh, that was supposed to be a Q, but it didn't really happen. You get my drift, though. Okay. Now I got to figure out what's going to go in this chart that I have here. Remember, I need to make sure that I am only using one variable within this chart. So if I have to do some solving on the side, then I do some solving on the side. So let's think about the information I have. It tells me Joe has a total of 37 coins. Okay, that's the number of coins, right? So I know that I'm going to go ahead and pick out 3 variables because I don't know enough yet. So N, D, and Q. Those are going to stand for nickel, dime, and quarter. Okay, so now that I kind of have some variables, I know that I need to get it down to 1, but I can't quite do that yet. I need to do some solving and some figuring out before I can put that into my chart. So let me think. It says she has 4 more quarters than nickels. That's a big piece of information because that tells me the number of quarters and nickels, kind of a comparison there. So if she has 4 more quarters than nickels, that's telling me that she has more quarters than nickels. So the quarters would be equal to n plus 4. Okay. Sounds good to me. Now, I have to figure out how, so I have quarters represented here with n as my variable. Now, I need to figure out how I can represent dimes, okay? Nickels can just be n, and it's okay. It's asking how many dimes, but if I know how many nickels, I can figure out how many dimes at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and choose n as my variable that I'm going to use within my chart because that's just how the information kind of presented itself to me. So I know that n can stand for nickel, and I know that right now quarters is n plus 4. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. Now I have to figure out how many dimes there are. Okay, so if I think about this, I know how many total coins there are. There's 37 of them. And that's the nickels, the number of nickels, the number of dimes, and number of quarters combined. So if I say nickels, that's n, plus the number of dimes, which I don't know yet, and I don't have enough information to replace that with a different variable. So nickels plus dimes plus the number of quarters, well, I can use this, and at least I'll just have n and d. Okay, so this part right here is really like my quarters. So I have nickels, I have dimes, and I have quarters. They all add up to 37. Now at this point, I can solve this equation that I just created for for d, so I can get n as my variable. Okay, so if I know what dimes is equal to, I can use that to kind of sub in. So if I go to solve this equation, I'm kind of running out of room, so I'm going to kind of go up to the side over here. So I'm just going to combine like terms. So I have 2n plus 4 plus d equals 37. Again, my goal is to get d equals so that n can be part of the equation here. So I'm going to subtract 4, and that's going to leave me with 2n plus d equals 33. And last step to get d by itself is to subtract 2n, and d would be equal to 2n minus 33. Sorry, that would be a negative 2n minus 33. Okay, so dimes can be represented by this negative 2n minus 33. If you look at the answer key, my work is much neater, and I try to put some notes in here as well. So if you need to look at that, go ahead and do that. I'm going to have to erase some just because I'm running out of room. But now that I have one variable within my chart, I can kind of continue. Okay, so I know that nickels is n for the number of coins, dimes is negative 2n minus 33, and quarters is n plus 4. Okay, so it's all based around nickels, but if I know how many nickels there are, I can just substitute it back into this negative 2n minus 33 and know exactly how many dimes there are to answer my final question. Okay, so the value of a nickel is 5 cents. So this is where they want you to be careful and keep it all in like terms of dollars or cents. So I'm going to use 0.05, okay, for nickels. For dimes, 0.10, or just 0.1, it's the same thing. 0.25 for a quarter. Okay, so the total value, well, I'm multiplying it, right? So the number of coins times the value is going to be the total value. So for this first one, I have 0.05 n. The second one is 0.10 times that whole quantity. So I'm going to put it in parentheses. Negative 2n minus 33. And then lastly, I have it got a little crazy. I have 0.25 times the quantity n, again putting parentheses around it, plus 4. Okay, my chart is filled out. Now I need to focus on how I'm going to create the equation and what makes sense. So I'm going to erase real quick and get some room. All right, so if I want to determine the equation that I'm going to write, I need to go back to my original problem and see what kind of equation I can make. So this is the total value, right? That's what I kind of came up with right here. Now, I already know I used this part to determine my different number of coins. Now, the only thing I have not used is the total, okay, the total worth. So if I add up the price of the nickels, or the value of the nickels, the value of the dimes, and the value of the quarters, they should all make a total of this 550. So it's going to be kind of a long equation, but I'm going to say, okay, 0.05n, so the worth or the value of all of the nickels plus the value of all of the dimes, which is this 0.10 times the quantity negative 2n minus 33, plus the value of the quarters, which is this 0.25 times the quantity n plus 4, should be equal to $5.50. Okay, I can put that 0 on, or I don't have to. But that would be my final equation. Okay, it's kind of long, but it kind of just is what it is. So if I were to solve, which right now I'm not, remember I'm just finding my variable, and I chose n, filling in the chart with one variable, and then creating my equation this time. Okay, so I'm not solving on any of the ones that you're working on today. These are the only steps that you're taking for today. All right, so your job today is to complete the rest of the examples. So examples, 6 through 9 did I say? And then the first 3 on the practice. All right, let me know if you have any questions. I know that these are challenging, but you guys so far haven't had a lot of questions, so I'm hoping that means that you guys are killing it right now. So have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you later.